What's up, Pirates? Wraith here with Awaken TCG, and look at this beautiful Momo winner card. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a foreshadow right there. We actually took BONNEY to locals, so we pulled the altar, and we got a Kaizoku card. What is it called? Fan art, custom arts. I think they're called. How the hell do you open this? Hold on. Like the custom card, right? So if you don't already, he makes amazing cards. They're super high quality. Check out Kaizoku cards. I met up with him and he was so kind to get me this one. So we had it for our locals. It was a fun locals is our first 07. And so we actually ended up taking it, and we're gonna go over the deck list, what I ran. So let's go ahead and start. For starters, we have 4 baby 5. These are our searchers. Makes the deck consistent. It finds our early game plays. It finds our 10 cost, which is a big thing, right? There's a lot of matchups where we actually need that 10 cost. A lot of matchups where that card wins us games. And it searches our we run a 0 cost event. It searches our 0 cost event, our 2Ks. So it's a really good card. And then we have BONNEY. Again, another searcher that searches some 2Ks. It searches our mid-game plays, and we'll go over some of them here in just a second. So we run 2 0 drop events because we run a couple of bricks in this deck, and so that card actually can come in handy. Here is a searchable 2K, and another searchable 2K. You're never using these effects, but they're searchable, and so instead of whiffing, we can pick up a 2K, which always feels good. Eroge, this is our first card that we're going to go over. It's a mid-game play. Also can be used in the late game, but basically it's a 4/5 blocker that you always want to keep standing on your board, and its effect goes end of your turn, set up to one of your Dawn cards as active. And if I didn't already go over the effect of our leader, it reads on your opponent's attack, once per turn, rest 1 Dawn, rest up to one of your opponent's leader or character cards. So no restrictions there. You can rest anything, any character, any leader for 1 Dawn on their attack. And so Eroge at the end of our turn restands one of our Dawn, which perfectly plays into our BONNEY game plan, which makes it a very effective tool in this deck to be successful. Next up, we run 2 BONNEYs. This freezes one of your opponent's rested characters until the end of your opponent's next turn, or it freezes one of their Dawns, which means we can play around things like 10 cost Big Mom, 10 cost Ace, BY Luffy, 10 Dawn play with Moria, right? So this card negates all of those cards by being able to freeze a Dawn and not allowing them to have the option to do those, which makes some of our matchups a lot easier. And so we run 2 of those. Also searchable by our Supernova Searcher Jewelry BONNEY. Searchable. All these 3 mid-game plays are searchable by our BONNEY. Cavendish, one of the most used cards in our deck that gives us insane value. So Cavendish here, it allows us to restand 2 of our Dawn on play or when attacking. So if this ever sits on board, if you ever have a 10 cost play, you play your 10 costs, you swing with Cavendish. Oh, guess what? We have 2 more Dawn. We can use 1 Dawn for something and then keep 1 up to be able to use our leader effect. So super good card here. I think Cavendish is really, really useful. Then we have Basil Hawkins. Our first ever card that can actually there might be another one, but this is a very good useful card because it is a 6/7 blocker, and once per turn, if this character would be removed from play, keyword removed from play, that can be bottom deck, thrown into trash, KO'd. If this were to be removed from play, you rest one of your opponent's characters instead, and it gets negated once per turn. So let's talk about some of our big bodies here. Again, all these are searchable. All these are searchable by our BONNEY, which makes it very, very consistent. We have our 3 Captain Kids that go along with 3 blockers that play around KO, and then 3 blockers that play around what's it called? RP Law bottom deck. So that 4,000 power is key because it allows us to play this against RP Law off of our kid, and now they have to give us a reducer to get rid of that blocker. Next up, we have Hody Jones, the one card that's not searchable in our deck, but it is a menace. This card here makes this deck have wings. Such a good card. It's so good into RP law on curve. It's so good into decks you need to rush. I can't speak any more good about this card, and that's why out of all of our big bodies, it is the one we run a 4 of. I did take this list from Noel. I think I will make some changes though moving forward. The list was amazing and it ran well, but I did find some changes that I would make after testing, and maybe in the future I'll run it in the tournament, and we'll go over some of the things I think we need to change. 310 cost Dofi, our biggest body, 10 cost, freeze your opponent's board, super good into a lot of matchups, and so this is kind of what we're using. And so I think this list is solid. If you're gonna start off on BONNEY, this is a perfect place to start. Let's go ahead and get into some gameplay and see how I really just used everything. All right, so before we go ahead and get started, I actually got a top 8 finish for yesterday's online regional. If you're seeing this was Saturday, June 29th. I got a top 8 finish. I lost in the finals to a Prona. I was on Gecko Moria, and it was real close. The VOD for my whole run is up. I was streaming all day yesterday. You can go ahead and check that out on this YouTube channel. Just go to the live section under our channel. I also want to say huge shout out to Jonas. I've been getting a lot of people asking me if I do coaching. As of right now, I don't, and I don't plan to ever do it seriously. I might take a couple people and just coach for free, just out of enjoyment. But I do not coach. If you're seriously looking to get better and seriously trying to hit that next level, hit up Jonas. I'm gonna have his link to his coaching down below in the description. He is the one that coached me. He is the one that made me into the player I am today. And so you can go ahead and check out his prices. Even shoot him a DM if you have any questions, or shoot me any DMs if you have any questions. But that is my number one recommendation for anybody looking for coaching, is hit up Jonas for sure. And so now let's go ahead and get into this gameplay. First couple turns, not much really happened. I searched, played a Cavendish on curve, swung 7. He was able to Hiyori early on and play a cracker, and then I just took that life, which wasn't too bad, just because now I know his cracker wasn't going to be live, and I was going to be able to Cavendish swing 7 into it. And so he's playing a really, really aggressive, and I know what my hand is looking like, and I know I can play really defensive, which makes it easier because now at this rate, he won't be able to pop any of my units that I play with his bigger bodies. He's kind of just trying to go for game, right? Just go for game and hope I'm bricked, or hope I don't have the answers. And so I play Hawkins for 6 Dawn on my 7 Dawn turn, and now I'm debating if I want to swing into this ace or not. Obviously, I'm gonna have to leave 1 up, and I think I do, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and get 1 card guaranteed out of his hand while he's still at 7 life. He won't be able to Yamato, and I swing 5 at life here just to try to bait and go down to 1. Knowing I could probably pressure next turn. And he gives me the 1 like I predicted, and then I go 7 at the ace, which again, he gives me another 1. So 2 cards out of the Enel's hand is really good on a turn where he probably should have just took that 5 on life and then probably protected his ace and gave me 1 card instead of 2. Now I do have BONNEY effect active. He's going to go 8 at my Cavendish. I'm going to leader effect, rest, knowing there's going to be no more attacks. I have this Cavendish block, give a 2k. And that AK swing was basically negated with 1 card. Yeah, Basil is just insane. And then obviously a very control match. I want to get ahead of the curve. I want to make sure I'm controlling the board. So I gave him the life, right? At this point, his ace is live. His Yamato is not live. He can kind of curry, but at this point, I just want to get more cards out of his hand. It doesn't really matter how much life he has. If I can just control the whole board and make sure he has no cards in hand, I think this is a winning matchup. And then on top of that, you have 10 drop, right? If he ever swings with his big bodies and leaves him vulnerable, 10 drop just wins you the match on the next turn, right? So I go Basil again because the card is just way too good. I'm going 7 at life. We get the 2 Dawn. Knowing I'm going to just play a 4-drop Udoge. I don't even have to wonder what I'm going to do. I already know. Swing 5 at life. He's going to go down to 1, and then obviously I'm going to Udoge here, get that 1 Dawn back active. A lot of the times these I don't want to say newer players, he's been going for a while, he's really good. I'm trying to the newer sets a lot of the times players don't know what the cards do, and so they're always like, whoa, that card does that. And so I always get the, let me see that card, let me read that card, especially for when new sets come out and newer cards come out. Like especially the Hawkins, yeah, has a big wall of text, and people want to go, wait, what does that actually do? My opponent's turn. Oh, he got a Kiku off life, but he swung at me, and I go ahead and use a leader ability to swing the Kiku, debating what I want to do here. And I give him a brick with a 0-drop event to counter out with the block. So he does have leader swing here, but he doesn't have great targets. He doesn't have great targets, and he probably wants to play a big body this turn. He goes 5. I give him a 2K. I want to stay at 2 life here. He plays the Yamato, heals 1, but he can't pop anything. So him being super aggressive early on means he can't really control my board with cards like Yamato, which feel really, really good. And that's another reason why I dropped him down to 1 life, because I knew he could heal, that's fine, but he won't be able to pop anything. I'd rather him heal 1 than pop my Eroge, right? Which is a really good card. And so there comes the 10 drop. I freeze his whole board. And at this point, I don't even think I want to swing. I'm debating. That's what I'm thinking of right now. Like, do I swing? I don't want him to get a Nonami, pop my Eroge, something like that. But I do want him down to 1 life, so we just got to do it. Yeah, I just pass here, which is the correct move to do, right? I don't have any follow-up swings at 1 Dawn. Sometimes it's not as clean to be able to see. Sometimes it is a little ambiguous on whether or not you want to, pressure that last life. But I feel like if you can ever make them go down to 0, you're forcing them to play a big body, which means they're not going to have any production going for your board. They're not going to have any production or any, actions that are going to get them closer to winning the game. They're just on the back foot trying to stay alive, right? You ever get them to 0 life, they're going to be forced to play a big body, gain that life back, which means their whole turn is negated. But you also don't want to leave yourself vulnerable to the clapback if they already have units on board where you can't protect your units. Because if they heal, clear your board, and then you're in a real bad spot. He swings 9 at life. I go ahead and take. Going down to 1 is not too bad. Especially knowing what my hand is. You want to take life conservatively. But you're on BONNEY. If you ever have a kid and know you can just go kid and protect yourself, or 10 drop protect yourself, you should be in a good spot. And so him going Amaru on this flampe here means he has no plays in hand. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I probably just win next turn. I can protect my board here and just win. So I block and go double 1K to block the 8K swing that he just did. And then he's going to Hiyori for 2 Dawn, take life, place a trigger, I'm assuming. We're going to find out here real soon. But yeah, at this point, he has, 3 cards in hand. I just go 10. Then I can go like 9. And so he dropped the 0-drop event, which is good for me because he has to give 2 cards for that. Now he has 1 in hand, so I can just, attack real light. So I go 6, he takes. I go 7, he takes, obviously. Gets a Kiku trigger, but really didn't matter. And that was game. So very efficient. You just got to play around a bunch of things. He had a very aggressive start, but then he started playing his bigger bodies. And so I think you have to play more of a control style here. While 10 drop is really annoying, I think it is something that, you can play around to a certain degree. All right, and then now our next match here, we have a Zoro. So I wasn't expecting a Zoro, and I'm not really too sure the kind of list he was going to run, but he goes Dodon on 2, so I'm like, okay, gets a Magura. At this point, I already know, okay, it's going to be, low to the ground, rush style. And so at this point, I'm like, okay, well, I just need to protect the board. I get my Cavendish on curve, right? I can play it on 5 if need be. I have a lot of ways to really bully this matchup. And so at this point, I'm just searching, force him to swing into my searchers rather than my life. So that's when it gets scary, right? If they can just pressure you so much early on that you take down to 1 life, 0 life, God forbid you ever hit 0 life and they have Diable Janbei in hand. So he's going to swing 6 at life. I think he's swinging 6 at life. Oh no, he just attached so far. But if I'm him here, I'm double clearing the searchers. I'm double clearing the searchers all day. Yeah, so 6K at lead, and I'm going to go ahead and take this. I think he misplayed and should have swung at the BONNEY. But he ends up going 6K 5, plays a buggy. I give him a 2K just because I know what my hand is and I know I'm not going to need any cards. And he actually whiffs the buggy. Very unfortunate. But that's the risk you take when you play Zoro. And then this is just such an insane turn. I go 5 into the Dodon. Obviously, he's going to take that. And then I can Cavendish double search, which is insane on 5 Dawn. So not only do I get to play my 5-drop on curve unit, I get to search 2 times. I get to search 2 times and get 2 more cards. So these 2 searches already replace themselves, and these are an extra 2 cards on top of that. So these 2 Bonnies have me at +2 resource pool, which is insane. And then he whiffed his buggy, so that's already another -1. And so, you know, we're looking fantastic. We're looking, and we're in such a good spot, right? We're still at 4 life. We have such a big hand. He goes Magar onto the buggy. He's debating how much he wants to swing here. I think the buggy is at 6K, or he's at 7. And I'm going to counter out the 7 every time. I just got 2 cards. I can use those exact 2 cards to go ahead and block the attack, right? And then he's going super aggro, KOing one of my searches, but also leaving one up, which was interesting. I take the other 7K because obviously I don't want to go down too low in hand. Late game, I'm going to be able to just kid and, you know, force the win. I go Basil Hawkins. I go 7 at the Zoro. That's something he probably just has to take. Yeah, of course. 5 at the buggy. Again, search on top of that, and I can keep leader ability. Right, so this Cavendish is just putting in an insane amount of work. Now I have a Noroge on top of everything else, so it's looking real good for me. Obviously, the Zoro is still at 5 life, but I'm slowly building a board. That this Zoro is not going to be able to take out. I think if a Cavendish can just stick on board, you have such an easy time just going crazy and snowballing that into like a big win. Like even Cavendish on curve is great because you get 2 Dawn and then you can play a Searcher on top of that, right? So if you really think about it, like you're just getting extra Dawn. You're doing things you're not supposed to be able to on turns you don't have enough Dawn for, but Cavendish makes that possible, right? So if your opponent doesn't have anything on board and you go Cavendish Searcher, now he's forced to swing into your Searcher that you just replaced, right? So he goes Nami, gets a Sanji 2K. He's in a really bad spot here. Obviously, I took the big swing from his leader, but he's going Kid Killer very early on here, which I think is the wrong decision. And then he swings at my Cavendish to top things off, and I just give him a 1K. I think that Kid Killer definitely needed to come down a little later once I was at 2 life and make his effect live, because obviously you can pressure with that 7K. So if I was him, I probably would have, you know, just waited a turn on that. I'm not sure what his hand's looking like, but at this point I can control the whole game, and it's pretty much over. Then I swing 6 into his Kid Killer, and he just blocks it out, and so I can go Bonnie. I freeze it for the whole next turn, and there's not really much he can do. And I'm still not even swinging with the Basil here. I can go ahead and rest the Nami just so it can't swing, and I can use the Basil here to block whatever he swings with the Zoro and just give him a couple of cards. And the reason I don't want to swing is I don't want to give him more Kid Killers in hand that can pressure, right? So he plays Marco and pops my Bonnie, which is pretty good for me. There's not many things that he can do here. Obviously he can barely swing. And he misplayed there playing the Marco before he swung, which means I could leader ability rest it. And I think I'm going to 10 Dawn next turn. Again, another Kid Killer just feels really bad. He swings for 7, or was that 6? I think I give him 2 1Ks. But yeah, I'm on 10 Dawn here, so I'm able to just, you know, freeze 3 units, and then I'm swinging at the Kid Killer that he's just going to have to give me. Now he has no board, right? I can keep 1 Dawn to rest the Nami. I actually don't even need to keep a Dawn up here now that I'm looking at it. But it's just very control. It's very control. Bonnie's really good. Bonnie is really, really good. That's probably the deck I have the most games into, even though I probably won't be playing the deck. We're going to have to see and test a little bit more and see if it's worth it or not. But for the most part, this deck is insane. It's pretty insane. I would consider taking it to a regional. It's so early on for O7 for me. I still have to test so many decks. But you guys can kind of see how this game is going to end up. For the most part, you know, he tried to be very aggressive, but I just had the answers and he couldn't remove my board. And so now I have a BONNEY, a Basile, a 10 drop, a Cavendish. And he doesn't really have much answers here, especially being so low in hand. He goes Rush Luffy. Let's see what he does here. I think that Rush Luffy is okay, he swings 9. I think he's swinging 9 at the Cavendish. And I just let it go. At this point I don't need it, right? With the way my board is set up, I just didn't need it. Let's see what my next move is here. I actually forgot what I do here, but it's probably along the lines of just doing a little bit of math here. I'm probably swinging leader. Yeah, I think I can just end here. So I go 7 and he takes. As soon as he does that, I just go 10 and then I can just shove, right? He does have 2 Dawn up, so I'm playing a little cautious. I'm not going to just shove right away. And he blocks out the 10, so at this point I'm like, okay, he has 2 cards in hand. I can just split Dawn and probably win. So I swing 7 there, he takes, and then I can shove. If he ever blocks out the 7, I can just I don't know what I had in hand. I could probably just play another blocker and be safe. But moving on to the finals, I had a blast playing BONNEY. Usually I'll have a leader to play for locals and I have the proper testing. I actually did test a bit before, so I know what I'm talking about. When I have time, I will always give the decks you know, some proper testing beforehand. There are a few situations, guys, where I actually just don't have time to test the decks and I go into locals with just what I can think of in theory, right? So lucky for me, I'm starting with the double search and he had no turn 1 or turn 2 play and he swung 8, so it's looking really good for me. He can probably swing 5, play a kid, a spin here, which is probably what he's gonna do. Yeah, he has that exact thing. Gets rid of both of my Bonnies and he gets to develop 2 units on board. Luckily for me, I already replaced both of my cards, the 2 Bonnies that I played, so I don't mind giving them up. And let's see what I do here. I think he's debating if he wants to play a Gordon, and he does, which is smart. At this point, it's looking not too bad for me. I think the Basile here is definitely going to save me if I have it. I think I'm on 6 Dawn, so I can actually play it on curve, swing 5. I will say, I think I misplay here if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think I misplay here. Because I know if I play a 6,000 power unit, he's just going to Gordon it. So I think Basile is my only play if I have that, which I think I should have it in hand. But I believe I play the Cavendish. And then I swing 5 and he blocks, which was a misplay. Or I think I do that later on. I think I misplay like that later on. Yeah, so okay, so I play BONNEY for 5. I play BONNEY for 5 and then I swing and rest up one of his Dawn. I think I should have swung 5 first to bait the block and then BONNEY and rest the kid, right? Not being able to be used. Because now he can pressure with it, which will probably be bad for me. And this BONNEY's getting spun, right? This BONNEY's getting bottom decked. There's no way this BONNEY's living here. He goes 4 for a Bon Clay, ramps an active, and then he can Gordon, bottom, ramp another active, and then probably play 3 drop. Luckily for him, that's not his option here. I leave 1 up, block the attack. I use leader effect to rest the kid. He goes another 6. I go 2K, and luckily I have the 2Ks in hand. Otherwise, I would be in a real bad spot. So, yep, just like we predicted, he spins. And he's debating if he wants to play something off of leader effect, which he does. He plays Reiju, which is good for me because that means he's not ramping back up to an insane amount of Dawn. I love these Reiju plays early on. Just, you know, it's so easy for me to come back. And so I have the Hody Jones. I have the Hody Jones on 8 Dawn, which means I can swing at his board. And on top of that, I can leave one Don up to rest the unit. So at this point, I'm going to use everything in my hand to counter out and not let him get to that 2 life sweet spot, so where he can start Kid Killer pressuring, which feels really bad. So yeah, Kid Killer is an insane card in RP Law, by the way. I need to test that deck as well. So he goes Toy Law, and then he swings 6 at it. And so at this point, he's swinging into my 6k Hody, which gives me a lot more value than if he were to be swinging at lead. So I can just give him 1Ks for this. 1K, 1K, 1K. I'm keeping this body up. I'm going to, obviously, I leader rested the kid right beforehand. But yeah, I mean, Hody is such a huge card in this matchup. I think it's one of those things where you just really, really need to see it, or it can get a little overwhelming. And so he plays a Zoro off leader effect. And honestly, I think I'm in a great spot here. I think I go to 10 Dawn, so I have a big game plan here. I swing 5, he takes, I swing 10, and then I just freeze his board. At this point, I don't know if there's any coming back for him. He would need, I mean, I still have 4 cards in hand, right? If they're counter, I'm in a good spot. I'm in a real good spot. Obviously, he probably should have played a lot more card draw. Queen, Miss All Sunday on curve. The kid play was good, but I think the Miss All Sunday to reoccur card, right, to draw one and replace itself is just so much value early on, rather than ever playing a kid to ramp. And so here's the Miss All Sunday, and I think that, I don't know if he had it in hand or not, but the sequence you definitely wanted. Always probably do Miss All Sunday first to ramp to 6, and then you don't even spin. You probably just stay at 6 Dawn, go to 8 the next turn, which is an insane amount of Dawn to be on RP Law, because you can have the whole world to play with, right? You have whatever's in hand and enough Dawn to do everything. So he passes it to me. It is my turn. I baby 5 search. And at this point, I'm just trying to clear his board. I go 6k at the Law, he gives it to me. I go 8 at the Zoro, gives it to me. I go 10 at the Ain, gives it to me as well. And then I play a Hawkins for 6 Dawn, and I pass with 1 up, which means I'm winning this match. There's no way I'm ever losing here. I think being able to just have, what is it called? Have such an aggressive board out on the field makes it so easy for me to just really just control the match. It really just lets me to control the match. So if he at this point cannot kill me in 1 turn, he just loses, right? So I was slowly building board, that Hody being able to clear 2 units off his board, countering out aggressively. Boom, you get to a point where you stabilize. Your board is always going to shine their board, especially in this matchup in specific, right? He has a bunch of 5k units that are never swinging into my big bodies, and unless he's getting rid of each and every one every turn it's played, it's going to get to a point where it is overwhelming. So like all these units here now on his turn, they don't do anything, you know? And like again, he's swinging 8. I don't even know what he's swinging 8 to here. If I give him 1 2k, he's swinging into the Basil. Oh, he's swinging at life, so I just take, right? I can go down now to 1 life pretty safely, knowing I could just clear his board. And he's just taking. He has 2 cards in hand. I mean, he just has to take here. If I swing with my Basil, that means I'm playing another blocker. Yeah, so I swing with my Basil, swing with my Doflamingo, put him down to 1 life. He's never countering out of a 10. And then I can just double blocker and be super safe, right? Oh, even better, I kid into a blocker and leave leader effect up. And I have 5 cards in hand. At this point, his best option is to double Gordon, get rid of that kid, but then you still have to deal with a blocker and me having 5 cards and a leader rest, right? So, I mean, it's just from all angles, it just does not look good at all. You can kind of see and tell that I basically have the win here. So he has the Gordon. I think he only had 1 Gordon though. So yeah, he starts swinging at it. And I say here, I was like, well, you could probably just swing with the Bon Clay and not use Don. He's like, it's the same thing. You know, it's going to get arrested. But I'm like, yeah, but at least you wouldn't have to waste Don on the Bon Clay swing going 10k with the Dofi, right? Because instead of swinging 8, you can swing 10 at it. But I guess he said it was the same thing, which is, it's not, technically it's not the same thing,
right one is getting rested, but you can swing 10 at it with having to do no Dawn attachment. It honestly doesn't change much the way the match ends, but yeah, I was honestly pretty proud of myself for winning this locals with BONNEY. The deck is insane. There's a lot of great decks that can take tournaments, and so I'm happy. I'm excited for this new meta. I'm gonna take some time. No tournaments in July for me. I've opted to not go to any store championships. I just got a top 8 at an online regional yesterday, 1,000 players. I lost in the finals, like I said earlier, but at that point, I don't really need an invite anymore. I got 2 serials for OP06 EB. I'm really happy with my performance, and I want to get ahead of the curve and just test more. So we actually finished the game off. We talk a little bit. I do want to say before I end off, subscribe to my Patreon, guys. I'm going to be ramping up the content on there and really getting some good testing in and some great articles in with Cross. If you need coaching, I've been getting a lot of DMs. I will reiterate this. You can DM me. I will send you to Jonas. He is my #1 recommendation and probably the only coach I'll ever recommend, because I know other coaches are good and can honestly properly give you good advice, but Jonas does the work. He puts in the work into getting to know you when it comes to your skill level, getting to know what your flaws are. He has a whole questionnaire you fill out beforehand to make it easier for him and you to get the proper coaching you need. So that's the last thing I want to say on this video is just, if you want coaching, go to Jonas. He is the guy. He is the guy, I am telling you. Anyways, like this video, comment down below, subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.